I was just living my life, an ordinary life. I had my routines, my daily habits, and my small joys. I never imagined that anything could disrupt the simple, predictable flow of my days. I worked as a college professor in the Boston area, and I was respected in my field. My students looked up to me, and my colleagues valued my contributions. I spent years building my career, dedicating myself to education and research. I had a loving family and close friends. We shared countless memories, celebrated milestones, and supported each other through thick and thin. They were my rock, my foundation. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Every moment, every experience shaped who I was. I cherished the imperfections, the little quirks that made my life uniquely mine. The accusations were difficult to comprehend. It felt like a nightmare, something that couldn't possibly be real. I kept asking myself, how did this happen? Why me? I was just an anonymous face in the crowd, and suddenly I was thrust into the harsh glare of the national spotlight. Every aspect of my life was dissected, analyzed, and judged by people who didn't even know me. My life, once defined by my work and relationships, was now consumed by the justice system. The court dates, the legal jargon, the endless waiting, it all became my new normal. Narrator. Then everything changed. The life Karen once knew was replaced by a relentless cycle of legal battles and public scrutiny. Karen found herself at the center of a shocking case, accused of murdering her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The allegations were not just serious, they were life-altering. The news reverberated through her community and beyond. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers were left in shock, struggling to reconcile the Karen they knew with the accusations she faced. How could this woman, a respected professional with no history of violence, be capable of such a crime? It was a question that haunted everyone who knew her.
The weight of the charges, the relentless media scrutiny, and the looming possibility of a life behind bars became her new reality. Every day was a battle to maintain her sanity and her hope. Karen Reed's journey from normalcy to accused murderer is a stark reminder of how quickly life can change. One moment you're living your everyday life, the next you're fighting for your freedom. It's a story of love, loss, and the search for truth in the face of unimaginable tragedy. It's about the fragility of life and how, in an instant, everything you hold dear can be put at risk. Throughout it all, Karen's family and friends stood by her side. Their unwavering support was a beacon of hope in her darkest hours. They believed in her innocence and fought tirelessly to prove it. The legal battle was intense, with every piece of evidence scrutinized and every testimony analyzed. The courtroom became a stage where the truth was sought and justice was pursued. Karen's journey was not just about the trial, it was also about personal growth. She reflected on her past, her choices, and the person she had become. Through the adversity, she found strength she never knew she had. The community rallied around her, organizing public demonstrations and showing their support in various ways. They believed in justice and stood up for what they felt was right. As the trial reached its conclusion, the tension was palpable. The verdict would determine Karen's future, and the emotional weight of that moment was overwhelming. Regardless of the outcome, Karen's story is one of resilience and hope. She faced unimaginable challenges, but she never gave up. Her journey is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure and overcome. The case began on a cold January night in Canton, Massachusetts. The air was frigid, and the ground was blanketed in a thick layer of snow, creating an eerie silence that would soon be shattered by a tragic discovery. Officer John O'Keefe, a veteran of the Boston Police Department with over 2 decades of service, was found unresponsive in the snow outside a residence. His body lay motionless, a stark contrast to the vibrant life he once led. He had been out with friends the previous evening, enjoying what seemed to be a normal night filled with laughter and camaraderie. However, as the night progressed, it took a tragic turn that no one could have anticipated.
They rushed me to the hospital, but it was too late. The paramedics did everything they could, but the cold had already taken its toll. I was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The emergency room, usually a place of hope and recovery, became a scene of sorrow and disbelief. The news sent shockwaves through the community and the Boston Police Department. Colleagues and residents alike were left grappling with the sudden loss of a dedicated officer.
O'Keefe, a well-respected officer known for his commitment and bravery, was mourned by colleagues and the city he swore to protect. His funeral procession was a somber reminder of the risks law enforcement officers face every day. As investigators began piecing together the events leading up to O'Keefe's death, questions arose. The initial assumption of a tragic accident was soon overshadowed by emerging evidence. What started as a potential accident investigation quickly transformed into something more sinister. The scene was meticulously examined and every detail was scrutinized. The medical examiner's report revealed that O'Keefe had suffered severe head trauma inconsistent with a simple fall. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the case. The focus shifted to Karen Reed, O'Keefe's girlfriend, who had dropped him off at the residence earlier that night. Her actions and whereabouts became a focal point of the investigation. Had their relationship been as happy as it seemed? Friends and family began to question the dynamics between the couple, wondering if there were underlying issues that had gone unnoticed. Or were there darker secrets lurking beneath the surface? The investigation delved into their past, uncovering details that painted a more complicated picture. The investigation intensified, and the mystery surrounding John O'Keefe's death deepened. Detectives worked tirelessly, following leads and piecing together clues, determined to uncover the truth behind the officer's untimely demise. The community watched with bated breath, hoping for justice and closure in the wake of such a profound loss. The prosecution painted a picture of a jealous rage culminating in a horrific act of violence. They alleged that Karen Reed, consumed by insecurity and anger, intentionally struck John O'Keefe with her vehicle after a night of drinking.
Our case hinges on a theory of a tumultuous relationship, fueled by infidelity and resentment. We have text messages between Reed and O'Keefe, highlighting arguments and accusations of cheating. These digital exchanges reveal a deep well of jealousy simmering within Reed.
The prosecution also presented evidence from the scene, including damage to Reed's vehicle consistent with a collision.
We have witnesses who claim to have heard a commotion outside the residence that night, suggesting a possible altercation between Reed and O'Keefe.
The prosecution's narrative relied heavily on circumstantial evidence, attempting to weave a tapestry of guilt from digital footprints and witness testimonies.
We argue that Karen Reed, driven by a toxic cocktail of jealousy and alcohol, snapped on that fateful night, leading to the tragic death of Officer O'Keefe.
The defense team presented a starkly different version of events, maintaining Karen Reed's innocence and vehemently denying any involvement in John O'Keefe's death. They argued that the evidence presented by the prosecution was circumstantial at best and did not conclusively prove that Reed had any malicious intent or direct involvement in the tragic incident. The defense emphasized that the narrative constructed by the prosecution was not only speculative, but also deeply flawed, lacking concrete proof to substantiate their claims.
The prosecution's case is built on speculation and a mischaracterization of Reed's character. They have painted her as a jealous and violent individual without providing substantial evidence to support these claims. The defense argued that the prosecution's portrayal was not only unfair but also misleading, as it relied heavily on assumptions and conjecture rather than hard facts. This mischaracterization has significantly influenced the perception of Reed, casting her in a negative light without just cause. Central to our defense is the assertion that O'Keefe's death was a tragic accident. We believe that the circumstances surrounding his death were unfortunate and not the result of any deliberate action by Reed. The defense team has meticulously reconstructed the events of that night, presenting a plausible scenario in which O'Keefe's death could have occurred without any foul play. This reconstruction is based on a thorough analysis of the available evidence, including witness testimonies and forensic reports. We suggest that O'Keefe, disoriented after a night of drinking, may have stumbled and fallen, sustaining fatal injuries. The defense presented evidence showing that O'Keefe had consumed a significant amount of alcohol, which could have impaired his judgment and coordination. This, combined with the icy conditions that night, created a hazardous environment where an accidental fall was not only possible, but likely. The defense argued that this scenario was far more plausible than the prosecution's theory of a deliberate act of violence.
The defense pointed to the icy conditions that night, emphasizing the potential for accidental falls. They presented meteorological data and expert testimony to highlight the treacherous nature of the streets, which were covered in ice and snow. This evidence supported the defense's argument that O'Keefe's fall was a tragic accident rather than a result of foul play. The defense also noted that similar accidents had occurred in the area, further reinforcing the plausibility of their theory.
Furthermore, we challenged the prosecution's portrayal of Reed as a jealous and violent individual. The defense presented character witnesses who testified to Reed's kind and loving nature, emphasizing her lack of a history of violence. These witnesses included friends, family members, and colleagues who had known Reed for years and could vouch for her good character. Their testimonies painted a very different picture of Reed, one that was at odds with the prosecution's portrayal. We have witnesses who can testify to her kind and loving nature, emphasizing her lack of a history of violence. These testimonies were crucial in countering the prosecution's narrative and providing a more balanced view of Reed's character. The defense argued that the prosecution's reliance on character assassination was a tactic to distract from the lack of concrete evidence linking Reed to O'Keefe's death. By presenting these character witnesses, the defense aimed to restore Reed's reputation and highlight the inconsistencies in the prosecution's case. The text messages presented by the prosecution are taken out of context, failing to capture the full picture of their relationship. The defense argued that these messages, when viewed in isolation, could be easily misinterpreted. They presented additional messages and context to show that the relationship between Reed and O'Keefe was not as tumultuous as the prosecution suggested. The defense also highlighted that text messages can often be misread or misunderstood, especially when emotions are running high.
The defense also raised questions about the thoroughness of the investigation, suggesting that the police may have rushed to judgment, focusing on Reed as a convenient suspect while overlooking other possibilities. They pointed out several inconsistencies and gaps in the investigation, arguing that these oversights could have led to a wrongful accusation. The defense called for a more comprehensive and unbiased investigation to ensure that all potential leads were explored and that justice was truly served.
We argue that crucial evidence was mishandled or ignored, casting doubt on the integrity of the investigation. The defense presented instances where evidence was either not collected properly or was overlooked entirely. They argued that these lapses in the investigation could have significantly impacted the outcome of the case. By highlighting these issues, the defense aimed to show that the investigation was flawed and that Reed was being unfairly targeted as a result. They called for a reevaluation of the evidence and a more thorough investigation to uncover the truth.